Hello, everybody. It's been a minute since I've done a live, and I haven't been terribly active on here, which is what it is. There's a lot that I've had to integrate, that I continue to integrate and clear and understand within myself, within my own process of discovering the gnosis that lives within me. Never-ending journey of this life. But I really wanted to give kind of like an introduction to some of the energy that I'm going to be sharing in the workshop on the 19th, which, by the way, there are more people signed up for that workshop than like in a while. Like there's a lot of people that are going to be coming or at least watching the replay. So this feels really super aligned, and it took me probably 2.5 weeks of kind of being raked over the coals. And, you know, a lot was cleared, a lot was transformed, and I'm really in this process of starting to stabilize. Well, I've been stabilizing, but like beyond just being stabilized, I'm kind of the next layer beyond just being stabilized, where we're like able to then go back into the grids and go, okay guys, here's what I did, here's what we did. That's what Sunday is going to be. But this is going to be a little taster, so I'm just starting off slow today. It's been a while since I've been on here, so shaking out those nerves of being seen, and that's part of what I want to share today. There's so many little kisses that we're just going to touch on. So first of all, one of the biggest energies that's going to be coming through on the 19th is, well, I mean, it's here, but what that I'm going to be bringing through in the workshop is the wise child. And so there's this really natural progression that we go through from like sort of the naive child, even though you could say that if a child was given the opportunity to really unfold and blossom, that there is an inherent wisdom in the child, right? But we sort of go through this process of fragmentation through socialization, and it really kind of fractures the innocence. And it's through this process of initiation that really is this lifetime, if we choose to see it that way, if we choose to take this path, that brings us to the place of the wise child. And I'm probably going to be smiling a lot today, because those of us who are not currently experiencing like life-threatening tragedy are very fortunate. And we need to allow ourselves to get in touch with really positive emotions and build out really positive emotions within our heart, within our body, so that we can be kind of calibrated to what we need to do in the material world, what we need to do as far as action goes, right? Because there's so much out there that wants to destabilize us into the mind, that wants to pull us into all of these different stories. And stories are very important because it's through mythology, it's through these collective ideas that we're able to even talk about things like initiation in the journey. And yet we have to be very careful about not becoming so consumed by all these different stories that we actually lose the plot, and we lose where we need to be calibrated to, so that we can act and really start to connect with other people and build alliances. Because that's really, we're going to get back to the wise child in a second, but well, let me weave that back in. How do we get to a place of alliance with each other? We have all these people that are like, we think very similarly, we may have different ideas about different things, but we have these core values of kindness, of not wanting to be poisoned, not wanting to be controlled, sovereignty, freedom, things like that. So how do we bridge the gap into really forming like actual alliances and doing things and shifting and changing, instead of being prisoner to these stories and ideas and continue to stay isolated? Is that we have to activate the wise child. We have to soften ourselves and begin to open ourselves back up to each other and back up to life in a way that actually gives us hope, in a way that inspires us to wake up every day. It's very easy to get attached to the negative components that come with this path of initiation, because you don't get the abilities that many of us have, whether it be sight or claircognizance, whatever it is. You don't get that without experiencing the shadow aspect of that. So there's very difficult, very real and challenging things that we are asked to witness, that we are asked to dismantle within ourselves. And all of that is going to lead us back to this open heart where we can actually reconnect. That's the healing, right? Where we can even extend ourselves 50% into the alliances, into the relationships. And so I feel like that's so important. I just had a thought happening inside that was like, there are so many systems and ways of understanding this information. So many different types of language that we use. This is not a bad thing. This helps people to form groups so they can process ideas in ways that work for them. But it doesn't have to be that complex. It's also very simple. We need to be able to boil things down to what is the root of this person's heart, what is the core of what we're really trying to do here, and then allow each other through that open heart to build out different dimensions of the perceptual reality that is. Because you have a piece and they have a piece, and there's like, it's like, oh, it's like adding all these dimensions. So we really need that. And it's so, it's so easy to forget what we're really here to do. So one of the things I want to do right now in this moment is to work with the heart field a little bit. It's so hot. It's so hot. Oh my God. So if you are somebody out there, maybe you feel strong in your heart, maybe you feel some sadness, some grief, which, by the way, I want to share something with you that a client actually shared with me. Somebody that's experienced a lot of loss, a lot of grief. And I asked them, I bet, just in this kind of aloof, off the cuff moment, I just said, I bet that if you could get rid of this, you would. And they were like, no. Because, and this was surprising to me coming from this person, they were like, no. It's my grief that honors the love that was there. It's through my grief that I know how special that love was. And so, probably not new to any of us that we understand it's through these negative emotional experiences that give us the appreciation for the truth of what we really are. And it shows us how vulnerable each human being is and how compassionate we really need to be to that. So let's come into our hearts for a moment if you want to join me. Maybe just notice what the general season temperature is of your heart. I have been pulsing with these waves of feeling this playful, excited, childlike energy, and then I've been feeling these waves of grief and sadness come through my heart with no story attached to it. So let's do that today with no story. Even if there is a story that's attached to it, there's probably 1,000 stories that are attached to it. Because even if it's one incident that you're thinking of, that these are echoes, these are big, massive patterns of energy. And so just take a moment to acknowledge whatever the state and condition of your heart is. And maybe we're going to start to breathe into the heart field. So consciously, if you can get near a window by some sun, imagining that you're breathing that sunlight in through your nose and into your heart. That solar energy. And just stay with your breathing, right? The lungs are connected to grief as well, right? If we've smoked, if we've done a lot of things to fill up the lungs, right? There's a lot of grief happening there. And so when we invite the sun in, we invite the spirit into our body, living consciousness, and we invite that living consciousness as a witness to fill up our heart, to fill up our lungs, to send the sunlight through our blood, through our organs, through our spinal fluid. And you might notice maybe if you were feeling a little heavy, a little sad, a little bit of grief in your heart, that maybe there's a little shift, almost as if the corners of the smile on your heart were starting to turn up a little bit. I almost fell forward. Maybe allow yourself to make a sound. Shake it out a little bit. You might imagine a golden or emerald type of energy around your heart, echoing out coherently, anchoring into the grids, realizing that your energy is so special, so potent, so uniquely you. We wouldn't want you to be any other way. We wouldn't want you to be any other way. And through the activation of our heart field right now, we're going to start to intend to break out of any boxes of shame, any black cubes, any red cubes which seek to suppress our consciousness, which seek to confine us in for the sake of survival, all of the mechanisms that light up our survival centers and try to keep us hooked in something that has nothing to do with us. Yet it also has everything to do with us, but we already know and we're building for that timeline. Okay, we don't need to be constantly jerked into our survival mechanisms. We don't need to live our life that way. That is no life lived at all. And so breaking out of any boxes, like literally seeing your spirit taking up more space, start to notice the vastness and the bigness of your entire being. Because I was shown something which has proven itself to be true time and time again. When I was 16 years old, I was shown the Russian nesting doll. And this is a more accurate representation of how consciousness functions than, maybe us trying to look at it in a linear sense. When we start to move into the psychic realms, when we start to activate ourselves as a multidimensional being, what we realize is that we are working within layers. We are working within spirals, and we are working within multi-dimensional fields. And so I want you to just take that, whether you get that or not, it doesn't matter. Let it go and just let that anchor into your body. I am a multi-dimensional field. I am actually connected into entire divine cosmic bodies, beings, vast beings who have been initiated at very high levels, which serve as a pathway for my spirit. If only I can remember the truth of who and what I am. Okay, and you can play with your size. But remember, the earth is alive. We are not just these bodies. And that is the arc that we are in, the re-spiritualization of matter. We love the matter. We love this phase because it is teaching us so much. It's a necessary part of this chain of evolution. We have to find ourselves in correct time. And we can only do that by clearing and returning all energy back to this center point. You know, trauma and all of these things that keep us suppressed and subverted and in shame and all of these things, they yank us out of the center and they yank us out of the present moment. And it's from this moment where we're acting, to bring it back to the very beginning of this video, moving out of the realms of just ideas and the mind, bringing it into the heart, bringing it down through the legs, through the arms, full body instrument, fully activated. There's so much opportunity around us to connect if we will allow it in. There's so much opportunity for refinement if we will let that in. There's so much opportunity for love if we will let that in. So, why don't we, how should we close this out? Let's see if, I just want to double check, make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing. Oh, I mean, there's so much. There's so much. But this is good for now. Let me do a little drum at the end to lift up that energy. I've been doing lots of clapping today. Lots of just clapping. I'm like catching myself. Do you ever just do things and then you're like, oh, my body must just know this was what needs to happen. Just clearing that energy, baby. Okay. Be alive. Be alive in a world that is a death cult. Be alive in a world that wants you to stay in the left brain grid. Left, right, sharp corners, stay in a box. and sharp right and left angles were. It's being replaced with spirals, with dancing, with possibility, with possibility. I hope you could hear that. Straight from the mouth of babes. Straight from the mouth of these motherfucking earth angels,